Hey, Internet friend, this is Magic Brad with the Magic Brad Show on Magic Monday, because it is a Monday right now. Maybe not where you are, because you might be on the other side of the world. You like that? But it is Monday here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, the World Nerve Center and headquarters of Magical Productions, Magic Brad, and my friend today, my guest, his name is Brian Richards. I'm going to bring him on. Let's have a nice round of applause for my friend, Brian Richards. Are you there, my friend?
I am. Pleasure to be here.
Dun, dun, dun. Just a little shuffle there. See that?
That's pretty good. Not as good as your head bob, but it was good.
Like, remember those things you sit in the back of the cars and little dogs? Remember those?
Yeah. Hula skirt.
What a silly, dumb thing. So how are you today? Mondays are always kind of weird for me because it seems like nothing really happens on a Monday and people are like dreading going back to work. But guess what? They're not.
Yeah, because they're trapped at home.
Yes.
Trying to figure out what they're going to do today.
So for those that don't know, Brian is a friend of mine that lives here now in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, but he actually hailed from Chicago, right?
Long time ago, yeah.
Long time ago. But there was a lot of magic that happened in Chicago.
A whole lot.
Yeah. And now for those that don't know, magic has gotten to be a popular thing. You know, Penn and Teller Fool Us and Shin Lim on America's Got Talent. And we've got some locals here, Kevin Hall and Derek Hughes, that have been on some of those programs. Yeah. And so, man, how long have you been performing, Brian?
Let's get specific, shall we? 35 years.
Okay. So you cut your teeth on it?
Yeah, I'll say.
It's an interesting, magic is an interesting hobby, if you will, because it's different than most other art forms because you can't really see where the work is. It's supposed to look like you're doing natural, common things, but the work is hidden. You can't really see the work. Whereas a juggler, you can see the, oh my, that guy works hard all that time. But a magician's just like putting a coin from one hand to another, or shuffling a deck of cards, or turning a screen around, or a scarf, or whatever, and it just looks natural.
Right.
But there's a lot of work that has gone into that.
Well, and it also could be to our advantage too, in the sense that now Brad will know this person. I don't know if your viewers will, but a famous magician named Marlowe, who was considered one of the greatest card people. He came into a restaurant that I was working once, and he displayed his skills. And when I watched him as a magician, I was so appreciative of what he did because I couldn't do it. But it's so hidden that the spectators didn't know what they were viewing. They had no idea of the skill that they had just witnessed. Whereas I come in and I do a simple trick and they're like, oh, that was amazing. I get this big applause and everything. And there's Marlowe doing stuff that took him his whole lifetime to learn.
Right.
People are like giving a polite clap.
Just like some things, like say, for example, a gymnast can do like backflips and twists and all that stuff. They can also do a handstand. It's just a basic thing that's fairly simple. Like magicians, sometimes there's things that you don't really have to do any work. You just have to make, tilt something from the left to the right and the magic happens and it looks like a miracle. And this sort of segues into what we're going to be talking about, of how people in the academia can utilize magic to get a point across. And you don't necessarily need to be highly skilled to make something look miraculous and really get your point across, right?
Correct. Perception is an important thing. Sometimes the simplest magic tricks look like miracles. They really do. And more importantly, in academia, you're trying to capture a student's attention. And when you do that, when I do my assembly programs in a school, oftentimes teachers meet me afterwards and they say, I would love to know the secrets of how you kept those kids captivated. And I tell them that it really comes down to the entertainment. Once I have them interested in the magic, whatever message I give to them, it goes right into the brain. And it's deep. And then they're making a connection between the experience they have with the magic with the message, and hence retention. They remember it better. And that's what I try to teach teachers. That's a sideline. I mean, right now, because of the situation in our world today, I'm not doing a whole lot of assemblies in schools. Don't know when I will be. But I've always had this other aspect of where I've worked with teachers to try to use magic in lesson plans for two things. One, teaching your core lesson, and two, sometimes as a reward at the end of some time with the kids. I'm also a substitute teacher. So I always use that when I sub and I have a group of kids who don't know me. I explain I'm a magician and they go, "Oh, cool. Can we see something?" I said, "Sure. Once we get done around lunch and we get done with our lessons, I'll show you something." And it's a reward for them. So it's kind of a sneaky way to.
That's interesting because it's kind of also used in the marketing world, which is my world, is the cliffhanger kind of thing. Like, wait, there's more.
Right, exactly.
So you give them a little taste before lunchtime, and then you say after lunch we'll come back and
if we survive the day, it'll be a longer show.
Let me put one of your websites up here for those that don't know. 4Ace Productions, kind of easy to remember. That's Brian's one of his websites. He's got a couple.
That's all about the assemblies in schools and that.
And then the other one is 4Ace Magical Connections. And what's this one more related
to? Teachers. It's a website with free resources for ideas for your lesson plans to use in the classroom. And then also I do advertise or promote my book, Magical Connections, which is how to use magic in your lesson plans too. So, but there's a lot of free things on there too. A section on humor, section on games, lesson extenders, and just fun things to do with the kids in the classroom. And a lot of it can be done virtually, which is something that's very important to teachers today. If they can somehow transfer it to the virtual world, even better. So,
you mean the online, this visible, that's like this, so Zoom or whatever. Yeah. Now for
some of them may take a little more creativity. Like, well, as you know, Brad is a performer. Sometimes we need their interaction in some way, but there are ways to be doing that creatively online now too. So,
oh, absolutely. And you just have to kind of adapt and be innovative with something like that.
Right.
One thing I wanted to bring up, and it just passed out of my head, and I forgot what it was.
Catch it.
What was it?
I'm not a mind reader.
You don't do that mentalism thing, no. I forgot what it was. Oh, it was that some people are afraid of this thing, thinking that it's difficult. And some things do require a little dexterity, and some things can get really involved, but there are some things that are self-working that you can implement that are very impactful as far as being retained memory retention, and really gets your point across. And the other thing I think is really cool about magic is because it's magic, anything is possible. You can do anything,
Yeah, as we were talking, it's a metaphor for all of those key points in a teacher's lesson plan. How can I take, like, so many magic tricks involve 3, and the number 3 is big in magic, as it is in life. And so you could use 3 parts of your lesson plan and tie it into a magic trick really easily. So that's a simple idea behind it, but there's much more to it. But also things like card magic. Some of the simple card tricks can be changed by using getting a blank deck of cards, which is something I mention also in my book. I give them resources where they can find those things so they can customize the cards to be like maybe conflicts in US history. And they have all the wars and they have to pick one of the wars or whatever. And that's the one they wind up studying. And it's fun if you can customize it. And some of the tricks that are very simple are very easy to customize. And the great thing about working with teachers is they're naturally creative. They're very creative people for many reasons. And so just giving them the basics, they can take it and make it special just for them and match their lesson plan probably better than I can.
And for those that don't know the card trick kind of thing, there are jumbo size cards that a person can implement into this in case a person's teaching to an entire classroom and hard to see.
Right.
So I was going to kind of go over with you the different things that are involved in magic and how a person might implement those elements into their lessons. Like with magic, you can make things appear and disappear. You can make them change places by making it disappear in one place and appear in another. You can make it change form, or grow, like a small item can become a jumbo item. You can levitate things. You can make things change color. So there's a lot of different things that can happen. with the magic, and now you can just implement that. Like, say, for example, you want the students to come back after lunch rather than skipping out and going home or whatever that. I don't know the whole world. I wasn't much.
You're talking about your years, Brad.
Exactly.
You're not supposed to skip
I ain't
out.
going back there. That's like jail. But you can do things like that. Like you can do like a revelation of this thing, and then we're going to go to part 2 after, and then do a bigger piece of it.
Yeah, in fact, a perfect example, I'll show a perfect example. One thing that this is from the book, I use, now if I can get it on here.
Let me see if I can do
this.
this.
A little wider. This is a magic alarm clock. It's just a business card.
Hang on a second. Let me see if I can make you bigger there. That way you're bigger. Okay.
So my magic cardboard alarm clock, which right away the kids are like, what are they? First off, they probably don't even recognize an alarm clock. You're gonna have to explain that to them. But then you explain that this is going to time our activity, and this will decide when we're done. Now, the cool thing about this is that you're in total control. So you ask one of the students to sign the card with the alarm clock. So we'll say it's Johnny. I'll put Johnny's. He signs his name on there, and you take the card out and you put it down on the table or whatever. I'll use my hand here as the table. And then they do their activity, whatever they're reviewing. And then you say, oh, the alarm clock rang. And they'll all look at you and say, what? I'll say, the alarm clock rang. Remember this? And they'll say, yeah. And they'll look at it. When they turn it over, the alarm clock is now ringing with their name still on.
Hold it up to the center there.
Oh, there, more like that.
Right in the middle. There we go.
Okay. So see the transformation of the alarm clock says time's up. So that's a fun way to let them work on an activity, and they get this fun little reward at the end. And some teachers, going back to what I said before, that teachers are naturally creative. One teacher that I shared that with got one of those sound effect things on her phone, and she had the alarm go off. So whenever she did that, she'd hit that on her phone. Yeah. And then the kids would be, oh, the alarm, and they'd turn the card over and it was ringing. And the funny thing was, she told me during the course of the year, she had to do that probably 30 times because every kid, of course, wanted to do it, sign their name. So, but that's just an idea of
so that's an example of a transposition kind of thing where the card is one thing and then all of a sudden it changes to another thing.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So it really is only limited by the teacher's imagination. And like I said,
and in that specific situation, that thing is almost kind of self-working. Like if you can write a word on a card and then take the card out of the...
Exactly.
So a person could do that kind of stuff. It's not, mind-boggling.
Part is, even if sometimes it can mess up, as long as you're holding on to that card, it's not going to be a problem. As long as you put that card down on the table, you'll be fine. So
yeah.
It's very simple to do. So
your teachers don't need to be scared.
No. We'll walk you through it.
That's part of the fun part about being a magician and coming up with these creative things is you got these effects that you did years ago and you figure out different ways of implementing them. It just could be like my friend David Stahl, he was doing a thing for the petroleum industry. So he created, there's an effect that uses a cup. So he just created a miniature oil barrel that looked like the cup.
Sure.
And it still works the same. It's just a different form. So I'm assuming you could do similar stuff like that. Say, for example, like the coloring book. You could probably utilize the coloring book effect in a school situation.
Yeah, and what's cool about that, I mean, especially for teachers, because they're often involved in crafts just to do their daily lesson plans. Those are real simple crafts that they could do at school and use the supplies at school to make it. So.
Oh, you mean they actually build a magic trick for the kids?
Or the kids where they would buy, if you were talking about the coloring book, they could build a flip book. And
okay, sure.
There are ways to teach that too. I haven't personally done that, but you definitely could do that. And then you could customize it. It could flip to whatever subject you wanted. It could, you could make it, I don't know, they flip it one time and it's pictures of historical people, presidents. You flip it again and it's famous authors. It changes, totally up to them where they want to go with it. But yeah, that's something I'll have to think about, maybe doing a little video on how to make a flip book, because that would be a fun resource for teachers.
Yeah, there are some. I mean, that's part of the fun with the magic thing is the actual building things and
Oh, definitely.
creating stuff. So I can see that happening.
Frustration.
What's that?
You learn to deal with frustration when you're doing that too, because it's never quite right when you first try, and you got to
Yeah,
adapt, change, and but when you get it done, it's so satisfying when it works. You know.
it actually is. I built some stuff for our friend Sean Paul.
Oh, sure.
Radio controlled kind of stuff. There was a lot of fun building all that kind of stuff. And when all of a sudden it works, because you end up having to hook up all these little magnets and pieces of wire and string, right. And these are all things that nobody knows about. It's behind the curtain.
Including you when you start. You're like, I don't know what. There are many times I get into these things and I'm trying to work out a trick, and it's like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but let's go for it. So,
well, that's it. I think that's really the cool thing about it is you're doing something, all of a sudden, you know what, this would have been a lot easier with like a rough, smooth technique rather than trying to do this thing with magnets.
After you spend 8 hours trying to come up with the other way, then you're like, oh, it would have been so much easier.
Yeah. Well, Brian, we're coming up on, it looks like 16 minutes. So if there's anything else you got to share, but folks, we're going to try and do some more of these. So if you could comment wherever this video is and let us know if this is of any interest to you, if it's intriguing. So we're just getting this started. But the concept of we're all locked down. It's a hard time to do this stuff. So we're trying to adapt these things. You can do them in person, but we're trying to adapt this so you can do it via remote and virtual like this also. So what else you got to share with us?
Just how much I'm out there to support the teachers. I know what they're going through, being that I'm also a substitute teacher. As a substitute, I don't know what's going on right now. We haven't been given a lot of direction. So any of the teachers out there, I sympathize entirely with you, what you're going through during this. But if we can help in some way, we'd love to do it. And if nothing else, during this time where you're trying to figure out lesson plans and that, now's a good time to try new skills. And it never hurts to pull in some new skills. And it also may help you get through this period of time because it'll be something fun and different for you to learn. And I find that that's key for me, at least for motivation, is to learn something new.
Well, I know that some people on these video type things, they're scared to be on video. And to me, it's really no different than just like having a coffee with your friends, you know, with my little magic
Right.
book.
Very nice.
Got to have that. So if people would just kind of relax a little bit and realize that it's not that big a deal and keep it real simple. I mean, I'm just using this basic kind of earbud microphone. You don't necessarily have to go out and get a bunch of crazy equipment for all this. Just
into my computer mic right now. So
yeah. So
I'm
the technology,
basic as it gets.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to sign this off. Brian, I'm going to put you into the green room if you want to stick on. We'll have a little chat after.
Sure. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries. Let me put little Brian's, where the heck is it? It's somewhere around here.
Disappear.
It's there. 4 magical connections, 4 ace. 4 ace. You know, there's 4 aces, yeah. Club, heart, diamond, spade, 4 ace, magical connections. And you can learn more about Brian and what he's got to offer. And then he's also got 4 ace productions.
When schools are back in session, full force.
Right. Dun, 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 dun. Appreciate it. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Here. Well, folks, we appreciate you taking the time there. Nice round of applause for Brian once again. And if you would go ahead and comment below, let us know what you're interested in wherever this thing shows up, whether it be on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Periscope, YouTube. The list goes on. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be well, be safe, be kind, be nice, and be smart.